So, what makes one player stand out more than the next? I find myself pondering this question from time to time. Usually it's right after I either just got sold by a purple plate or just played with a dog of a black plate. But one thing's for sure though, you do not have to be ball dominant or drop 50 plus points in order to stand out in this game. And when you're running solos, that should be the goal, to stand out from the rest of the crowd and hopefully find your way onto a squad of like-minded individuals. And again, I'm echoing this. You do not have to be a dribble god or knock down contested shots from half court in order to be good at this game. In this video, I want to go over some of these unique ways to stand out in the rec center. And I promise none of them is to try to score more points. The first and often overlooked way to stand out in rec center is to just get your teammates touches. And notice, I didn't say to get the assist. Just passing the ball and keeping it hot will go a long way in a world where everyone is looking for their own shot. That's why having someone who's actively looking to set up teammates is a breath of fresh air. Some of the best players that I've had the pleasure of running with were masters of setting up their teammates. And if they didn't have anything, they would just simply move the ball and spot up so that the next man can try to cook up somewhere. Remember, you are playing with 4 other real-life people who all equally spent around the same amount of money on this game. Give them some possessions to try and create their own shot. Also, stop waiting until you're completely bumped up and locked up to start looking for passing targets. This usually leads to turnovers, as now everyone on the other team is hauling ass back to their matchups in anticipation of the forced pass that's soon to come. The next unique way in which we can stand out in the rec center is to be coachable. And I know I've said this before, that I'm not a fan of the on-court coaches, but sometimes they do be having some good constructive criticism. Maybe 5 years back now, I was running rec on a point guard build with some randoms, and we was actually doing decent at the game and ended up winning it and everything. But it was something this old head said to me at the end of the 3rd quarter that stuck with me to this day. And it was simply to slow down when I'm bringing the ball up court. And in the old head's defense, he was super respectful behind his criticism, so that helped. And most of all, the criticism made sense. If we're doing this well and I keep sprinting up court and playing 5v4 basketball, imagine how we would do if I waited a second for the inbounder to get up court and set. Now don't get me wrong, most of these on-court coaches be spitting straight trash and or complaining, but every now and then they will have some gems to either help you as a player or just to help the team win the game at hand. Even if it's something as small as asking you not to set a screen or to cut to the baseline, though it's usually not in as chill of a tone. The next unique way to stand out in the rec center is to play to your build's strengths. And I know you've heard me say this before, but whatever it is that your build is good at, that's what you need to be mastering and coming out here and utilizing a majority of the time. Within reason, of course. I'm looking at you slashers out there. If you're on a defensive build, you should have the paint on lock and key mid-2000s Ben Wallace style. If you're on an offensive heavy build, in that case, you need to be God tier level with your offense. Don't come out here missing shots or even taking questionable attempts just because your build is quote unquote capable of doing it. And again, I'll keep saying this till I'm blue in the face. Most people's struggles in 2K come when they're trying to push the boundaries on their build. If you are trying to stand out above the crowd in solo rec, then mastering your build will earn you a lot of praise from your teammates. And then and only then, once you've mastered your build, should you start venturing out and trying to add different facets to your game. Just make sure that you always have that foundation down to your game. Take my build for example, a diamond 3-level threat. Off the name alone, one would surmise that my build is capable of scoring from the 3, mid-range, and down in the paint. But first and foremost, he is a dimer, so I should be out here feeding my teammates, as my gold dimer badge will make life a little bit easier for them when hitting their shots. And then of course, I should be able to hit a shot from all 3 of my levels before I try becoming a dribble god. I need to be practicing on these main skills first, as mastering them will lead to greater success for me and the team. So when you head out there for your next game online, try and keep that in mind. A next unique way in which one can stand out in the rec center is by having mental toughness. Listen, if you're running solo rec, it can and will get highly toxic out there. You are going to have teammates jumping on the mic saying some of the wildest things to both you and each other. I was running some late night solos the other night, and my shooting guard was on some bug out and after just missing a double covered shot with folks open across the board, my center jumped on the mic with the loudest, "Is this motherfucker serious?" And that was all it took before all hell broke loose. Every timeout was called, and within 5 minutes, you had 2 grown-ass men arguing about who gets more bitch. And the deciding factor, of course, was who had the baddest joint on their Instagram. Mind you, we are still waist deep in a rec center game. The power forward ended up quitting out, but me and the small forward was balling the fuck out. And shout out to him because he really held it down. We ended up losing the game in the end because dudes was out here on some, if I make this shot, I get more chicks than you shit. But I definitely got respect for that small forward because that is the definition of being able to brush off the bullshit and not letting it affect your game. And if you want to stand out above the crowd, that's how you got to do when the BS comes. Just brush it off and not let it get you out of your game. The next way to stand out in the rec center is to play the game with some type of IQ. A content creator that I used to watch back in the days, the 2K czar, used to say this all the time: play basketball, not 2K. And truer words have yet to be uttered in regard to this game since. I say this all the time across this channel, and I'll continue to say it till I turn blue in the face. You do not have to be nice with the stick skills, pause, in order to be good at this game. If you play 2K from a real basketball perspective, that will get you a good percentage of the way towards being good at the game. Obviously, you're going to have to or want to learn to dribble and definitely shooting at some point, but as you play more games, that stuff should hopefully come. But being able to understand time and situation will elevate you above nearly half of all randoms. Knowing that there's under 6 seconds on the shot clock and that the steal attempt just isn't worth it, or making the extra touch pass to the wide open man and not taking that extra second to pump fake, or hell, even something as simple like pushing out to the corner to give your teammate a bigger gap to attack will go a long way in earning the respect of your teammates. It's small things like this that most randoms don't even think about. But if you're any type of decent at this game, the small things like this will scream out to you when you see your teammates doing this. I can't tell you how many times I've been pleasantly surprised when I rotated over to help on a bigs man and someone will not only rotate over to help me, but then rotate back to their own mans. Small things like this will almost always get an instant 2K friend request after the game, or a GG's message if you're on Xbox, from me at least. And then before we get out of here, a bonus way to stand out in the rec center is to make defense the name of the game and become a defensive stalwart. Remember, there are two sides to the game, and while you're working on getting your offense together, let defense be your main calling card. Trust me, if you are constantly locking down and causing havoc for the opposing team, you will easily stand out. There are way too many people who just are not engaged on defense, let alone invest in it on their builds, for you not to stand out. A word of advice, if this is the route you're going for, try to make it a goal to hold your matchup to under whatever their averages are, and just make sure that you are guarding your mans first and foremost. Too often will you see folks flying across the court trying to catch a cheap steal and or block and end up leaving their mans wide open for 3. Don't be that guy. Also, if you want to guard the ball, jump on the mic and let the point guard know. Otherwise, just be solid at your position. But these are just my opinions on the matter. If you have any other non-scoring ways in which one can stand out in the rec center, leave them down below in the comment section. Until we meet on them virtual courts, luck out. Peace.